So tell me what your story is.
So back in 2020, me, my wife, and my son were at my son's baseball game, and the weather got a little washy. We had a little bit of rain, the wind picked up, and the game was postponed for a little while. But then the weather started to break, but the field had gotten really wet, so they decided to cancel the game. So all the parents, we packed up everything that we had brought with us, and we were all headed back to our vehicles. And when I got to that point, it's pretty much, I don't remember what happened. Um, the rest of the story I'm going to tell you is going to be based upon what I was told. I was told that as I was walking to the car, a huge branch, limb, or tree, I really don't know what it was because I'd never seen it, had fallen and landed on top of me. It pretty much had knocked me unconscious. It split the top of my head open. And at that time, um, they really had no idea what all the injuries were that I had sustained. Um, they called the ambulance, fire department, and I was transported to the hospital. And I guess they had taken me in for x-rays and a few other tests. And then that was when they realized that my spine was damaged. In that process, they also found out that I had suffered broken ribs, and I had also had broken my right ankle. So there was quite a bit of damage that was done. And um, it's it was a long process.
I remember hearing the news and being completely heartbroken, wanting to get to New Jersey to see my friend, and just the devastating news. I'll never forget when you spontaneously video chatted and was talking to me. And of course, I lost it. You'd already been through surgeries. And I think at that point, we knew the complications. We didn't know exactly what the future would hold. But that's when I'm going to ask you, what do you feel has been your hardest challenge with this physical complications?
I think the hardest challenge for me is really uh, not seeing myself for who I am and what I'm able to do. I picture everything that I used to do physically, getting up, walking up and down the stairs, being able to go in the kitchen and load up the dishwasher, do all these physical things that we as individuals do on a daily basis, that is part of our lives. I think that a lot of us, we don't take things for granted on purpose. And when you're in a situation like mine, you look in the mirror and, for me personally, I looked in the mirror at myself and say, oh, I took life for granted. But I really didn't. I think it was just uh, me just really trying to get a grasp on the way my life is,
Yeah.
and trying to figure out how it was going to be in the future.
I agree. I could see that struggle in you as a friend. And it's so hard because of how physical your job was before all this, too,
Mhm.
and your purpose. And also with photography, you take some of the most brilliant pictures, and not having that ability to hold the camera, like you did, and have those amazing artistic experiences, spontaneously, even I say at times. I know we've connected because I've had physical complications. We're not going to go into all of mine, but it's allowed me to be up at night and us to have talks in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And I've experienced paralysis, but temporary, so I can't compare to what you've gone through, but I know even getting to another spot, even getting from the couch to another room could be the biggest deal. And you've had to learn how to walk. Um, my goodness, so many things. Tell us some of the things that you've been able to accomplish. And it is I mean, I can say blood, sweat, and tears to be able to accomplish what you have.
Absolutely. Um, it was a thing where my wife pretty much was told by the doctors that she should prepare for me being a paraplegic. And during that time, um, I've been able to do a lot of things that my therapists and even the doctors have kind of been amazed at the progress that I've made. From being able to simply, put my hands up in front of me to being able to get up and walk. Uh, these are things that they never had imagined, me as an individual being able to do again. Um, I've had a lot of friends and family and people that I don't even know that have, completely been there and have supported me. And for those that support me, I felt that it was my job to really uh, do what I'm doing to get back to a place to where I can feel relevant in life. And that is a journey that I am on and I will probably be on for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I have seen you go through so much as your friend. I'm so proud of you. It's to be expected. There's going to be really hard times and it's going to be painful. And anytime your independence is taken away is so difficult. As you know, my background is special abilities. And, also personally, there was that time, and I know you remember where I had many seizures
Yes.
and, they were feeding me. I tried to eat a hamburger and it went all over the place. And excuse me, drop this. And also, just getting to a place, they'd have to carry me. And, I went from someone who loved to just go and dance and do things, aware that I was born with congenital stuff, but never thought I'd be in that position.
Mhm.
As hard as it's been, and I know you'll agree with this, it's taught me so much about life and just appreciating, like, even doing the dishes for me is so exciting. And I know for you, I mean, you just embrace the most simple things in life that we, like you said, we could take for granted. What
Absolutely.
goes on? What are some of the daily triumphs that you have that you feel like get excited about being able to do that maybe before took for granted?
When I go upstairs
Yeah.
and I'm walking up the stairs, granted, it's not the most beautiful thing in the world.
It's
It takes
amazing.
time, but having that ability to just walk, get from point A to point B is like one of the greatest achievements that I never knew I was going to do again. That's as easy as, me being able to get into the shower. It's life is such a beautiful thing. And I don't take advantage of anything anymore. Anything that I do, just being able to be in front of this computer and speak with you, it took my hands moving to be able to set up the computer and press the buttons.
Mhm.
And these are things that there are some people who have been through exactly what I've gone through, but unfortunately, they're not in a position to do what I'm doing. And when I wake up and I feel the aches and the pains in my body, I have to really kind of take a step back from, I don't want to use the word being angry,
Mhm.
but not enjoying my life when I'm doing things not as I used to, not as I choose to, but as I'm able to. And these are the things that, that I cherish on a daily basis. Being able to go in the kitchen and open up the dishwasher and take out the dishes. I look at these things as being one success at a time.
Yeah.
My family has given up so much for me, and every new thing that I can do to help them takes a little bit of the pressure off of them having to do these things on a daily basis for me. And I'm proud that I'm able to help them.
Mm.
I don't look at myself and say I'm proud about myself. I am, but I know that I don't want to become complacent with what I have, because if I was able to get to where I'm at, that means there's still something else out there that I'm probably going to be able to do. But in the end, it's up to me to continue that journey on that road to recovery, because
Mhm.
I still have a ways to go.
I love that. I love your attitude. I think that was one of the hardest things for me, was what my family had to go through and friends. And, you know, we want the best for them. And that's where going deep with my faith, having to trust God, where it says all things work out for the good. And it's so hard to see when you're going through it, because you being, you know, wanting to take care of your wife and your son, and, and I know you're independent and strong, and yet you're doing an amazing job in a whole different way. It's just learning a different way to do things. And, I know my family has saved my life so many times. And, I'm a mama bear. So I'm like, no, 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 I'm supposed to protect. And so it's such a humbling experience to have to really go deep with faith. And that's where I kind of want to lead into is, how has God helped you? How has your faith helped you?
There were a lot of nights where I would just lay there and I would look at the ceiling and I would start talking, asking whoever was listening just to continue to hear me. But I almost was at a point to where I didn't think anybody did, because I didn't get any answers.
Yeah.
I would say prayers at night, asking for signs from God to tell me what my next step was. The one thing that I learned very quickly is that not everything is going to be a verbal sound.
Mm.
And if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss what you asked for. A lot of times it could be something so basic as for me to see something in the house, or see something out the window, or see someone that was the sign that I was asking for. Um, right now, I always question myself as to if I'm giving 100% or more of the effort that it takes to go through my therapies. A lot of times I feel like I should be in a different place than what I am, but should I really? Have I been given enough time to my therapy to where I have put myself in a position to where I really should be?
Yeah.
For me, it's a thing of believing in him, that he's going to help me, that he's going to guide me in the direction that I need to. Whatever that process is, I have to believe that I'm going to get there. If I don't believe, then I may not get there.
Right. Yeah. That's so good. And I think that exactly what you said, sometimes it's in the quietness, he meets us there. It's not always verbal, or, I was studying Elijah, the book of Elijah, and it was talking about sometimes he's not in the wind or the fire. It's in that small, still voice that encourages us to go forward. And I could see that in you. I could see your faith going deeper through this whole process. And I think, you mentioned about anger. I think sometimes we have righteous anger in the sense of this life is not always fair. But I can see where he changes those moments and those trials, whatever they may be, into something that can bless and bring hope to others. And that's what you're doing. I have no doubt you've touched so many lives already. I know you've impacted mine. And there's so many out there that still need to hear your testimony. Is it difficult at times? Yeah, absolutely. But I also know the joy that you have, you've always had that joy, that hope, that excitement, passion for life is exciting. One of the things I did, and I didn't give you this question ahead of time, so I kind of hopefully not pushed you, but encouraged you to get your story out. And I really know it's not easy. I remember, in high school, I didn't even share about my heart. People knew I had asthma, but I didn't share about my stuff. But when I started having seizures, it was very public. And it was scary to be public with it. But then I learned that I can use those stories and those experiences to help others. How has it going public so people can understand your story? Was there fear behind it at first? What have you seen come out of it that's helped?
That is a really good question. You never look at yourself as being in a situation, like for myself, I never pictured myself being in this position to where I was handicapped.
Yeah.
You see people and you see that they're handicapped, and sometimes a person will say, boy, I'm glad I'm not in that position.
Yeah.
Not that it was something that you were afraid of, but just that you had an opportunity to continue with your life as it is normally. When this first happened to me, going to therapy, going out in public, I didn't know how people were going to perceive me. I didn't know how I was going to be looked at. I didn't know if I was going to be ridiculed. I just didn't know. One of the things that I did when this first happened, I would not leave the house without a hat on. On the top of my head, I have a big scar, and it's from where the tree hit me and it split my head, where they had to do the surgery, but the hair was not going to grow back. And I was very self-conscious about it. One day when I started to stand up, I went into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror. And I looked at myself because I hadn't seen myself in months. And I'm like, that's what I look like. The first thing I noticed was the scar. And I said, it's not that bad. From that day forward, I took all the self-fear or the self-pity that I had inside of me because of the way I looked, and I got rid of it. To me, that scar now represents victory.
Yes.
And for me, it shows people that I have overcome an obstacle that was put in front of me. And it's just helped me prevail by going forward even more.
I love it. um, I just love that because I know we've had two daughters that went through multiple open heart surgeries and had scars. And I always thought they're badges of courage. So that to me is what you have, a badge of courage and victory. So I want to wrap this up. I was thinking about what we talk about, Gina and you and I, and we had our friend Tony on.
Yeah.
And it was one of the, it's hard to talk about. Wow. One of the most important talks we've probably all ever had and will ever have, where we're all from high school. Little did we know, we knew some of the trials going on. Little did we know we'd lose Tony a few weeks later. And you were going through what you're going through. Gina was about to go through a major situation health-wise. And you all knew my situation. What I love about that time is we never held back what we thought of each other as friends.
Nope.
And it went even deeper in the sense it's like family, that there's just a love we have for each other.
Absolutely. I think that we as individuals, we don't have to put everything on the table at one time. It's always like not ever having to starve.
Yeah.
Always going to have something to share with everybody. Doesn't matter who it is. I have made so many new friends. It's amazing. I think God gives us what he feels that we can handle. A lot of people have told me that I was put in this position because there was something that I needed to get across to a broader audience. I don't know if it was supposed to be something verbal or if it was something I was supposed to display. I do know that when I'm in therapy, there's a lot of people that pay attention to what I am doing. I hear people talking all the time. I can't believe he's doing what he's doing. I'm so impressed. And I now know that I set an example when I'm in there. People are always watching me because they want to see what I'm doing. I learned the same way other people are learning. I seen a gentleman in there walking one day that was impatient the same time I was. And I told him, I want to do that. I did it. And now there's people that are doing what I wanted to do. They're beginning to start to walk. When I go in there for therapy, it's almost like in the hallway, we have a counseling session amongst ourselves. We don't talk about what put us there. We talk about what we're going to do to put ourselves back towards our goal of getting back to where we once were. We all know it's a challenge. We all are ready for that challenge. We don't know what's going to come in front of us and maybe stop us from getting to that end. But in the end, we owe it to ourselves to keep on trying until we've reached that plateau, which means we will never know when we reach that plateau, which means we never should give up. Just keep going forward and don't worry about the past. Just keep looking forward towards the future. We talk about that road that we're following. There is no end to that road. You know, they say, well, there's a stop sign. Well, I don't see a stop sign.
No.
I don't see a stop sign. I continue to try to do things to help me progress. I just started with a personal trainer. I still go to another place on Sundays called Functional Patterns, which helps with my body mechanics. I have a gentleman that comes to my house once a week that helps me walk and function and do different physical things. I just now, for the first time in 2.5 years, have stepped away from the physical therapy aspect of my treatments because it's time for me to go forward. I think therapy is a continued progression to help you move forward. But if you become complacent, you're never going to be able to take that next step. And for me, it's time. Doesn't mean my therapy will stop. I've decided to take 6 months off from therapy to try to progress forward. I need to make a difference to where when I go back and I see my therapist, they're going to look at me and they're going to say, we did our job. But it's up to me to do the things to show them that what they did for me has worked. I want to help motivate them to help motivate the next person that comes along in their life, that they are going to helpfully put them in the same position I was in to move forward. You know, I don't ever want to say that you have to experience what I've experienced, but I'm hoping that me telling my story will help someone close their eyes and envision what I have been a part of. And, you know, going to Kessler, you know, it was one of the best experiences of my life. And when I go there, it's like I'm in a whole nother world that I know is like a ray of sunlight. It doesn't matter what the outdoors. When I look outside, it doesn't matter what's out there. I see sunlight. It could be thundering. I see sunlight. I'm waiting for the temperature to get back up in the 70s and 80s because I want to sit outside. I want to enjoy life again. I was given an opportunity to continue on with life, and I'm trying to make the best out of what I can. And I'm going to continue to enjoy it regardless of where I may be in my physical state, my physical state. I'm here. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm never going to give up. I'm going to just keep moving forward.
Thank you so much. That is exactly, we'll end there because that's exactly what we all need to hear. Keep moving forward. I love that even when it's cloudy, there's still sun above, and love airplane flights because it always reminds me that it's clear skies above. Yeah, there's those down times we all have, but it's just taken that literally sometimes one step forward. So, and you have done just that. So with victory. So thank you so much. And I'm excited for others, like I said, to hear your story.
Me too.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.